You know I love taking a risk, and this Golf is no different. But I didn't buy it from a salvage auction. I bought it from BCA as a non-runner, as you can probably tell. Now this is a little bit of a confusing one because I've bought this from BCA as a non-runner. It's not been crash damaged, it's HPI clear, there's nothing wrong with it like that. But it has got a sticker on the windscreen which says, important notice, this car is going to be removed because it's been basically abandoned in a car park somewhere, and I think that's how it's ended up in BCA's hands. Whoever's removed it, the council have removed it from the car park, and they've contacted the owner, who is probably the finance company. It says Marshall Repo, which is repossession, no keys. And I'm guessing the finance company have, I don't know what's happened, it's just pure speculation, but all I do know is it's ended up at BCA as a non-runner. I do have a key, but it doesn't start. Now, because of that risk of the engine not starting, I didn't pay that much money for it, nothing like retail or even trade value. Now, the trade value of this car at the moment is just over £10,200, and I could sell it for that tomorrow if I wanted. Now, I actually paid £7,100 for it, so I've actually got quite a chunk off, which leaves me with a little bit of leeway to get this repaired if it needs be, but obviously that is the risk you take. I could try and turn that over now and the engine's knackered, or it could fire straight up and just need a battery. I really don't know. It is the risk that I take every time I buy a car. But in this video, we are going to find out exactly what this car needs to get it back on the road and MOT'd for 12 months. So I have no idea why this car ended up being abandoned, but what I do know is we have a large sticker on the windscreen that says removal of abandoned vehicle for destruction. So this car was very nearly crushed, and I'm guessing, this is all pure speculation, I don't know what's happened to this car, but I can guess. And it looks like it says Marshall Repossession. So Marshall would have been the finance company. The previous owner owned this car since 2021, so I'm guessing they bought it probably from a Marshall approved used centre. The car was left in a car park in Fareham Borough Council area for an extended period of time, and they have ended up putting this notice on. The car still sat there, so they have ended up getting in contact with a finance company who have then had the car removed. But I think it sat in the car park for so long, and I believe it's without the owner's awareness, because there's loads of personal items in the car that you just wouldn't have left there. And I believe that such a long time had passed, the insurance company that was insuring this car had actually paid out as it being a stolen vehicle, and that is why it's ended up at BCA as a repo. I'm not 100% sure, but it is a bit odd. There is loads of items in this car that you just wouldn't leave here if you knew you were going to be driving it for the last time. We have a wallet, which has nothing in it though. But we do have loads of kids' clothing. We've got buckets, we've got more clothing, shoes, we've got a brand new trolley jack and a brand new multimeter, which I'm now putting to good use. We have jump leads, just things that you would have taken out the car if you knew you were going to dump it somewhere and not drive it again. So it's my theory that it was stolen. I don't know why, but I do know it has been sat for around about 18 months. And I know that because it last was MOT'd at 70,000 miles, and it has only covered 200 miles since the last MOT in October 2023. So we're getting on for 20 months since this car was last on the road. And if we look at the brake discs, I think I've showed you already, but we can tell it has been sat around for a long time. But why doesn't it run? It obviously drove to the car park, put the key in the ignition, and as you'd expect for a car that's been sat for 20 months, the battery does not work. The car is completely flat. Now, I have actually tried to jump start it, not me personally, but my driver, when we loaded the vehicle, we tried to jump it to see if we could drive it onto the transporter. But even the jump pack would not jump this battery. It just went click, click, click. So first thing we need to do is replace this battery and see if it starts. So I know I need a battery, a full set of disc and pads, and a service kit. So we're going to head over to eBay and we're going to add the Golf into my garage. So you just need to click add vehicle by registration number, put the reg in of the Golf, click confirm, and now we can just search for parts that will just fit my Golf. So we'll start off with front disc and pads, rear disc and pads, and I just want to find one that's going to do the whole package in one. So one that comes with front and rear disc and pads. Click on that one. Yep, that looks good. We'll have that one. Job done. Next, onto a battery. Same deal, search battery, and it will only show batteries that fit my Golf. So once I've got that in, just need a service kit to finish one off, and you can kind of get the gist by now. I've got a service kit en route too. And eBay also have 30% off car care, which ends on the 31st of July. So I was taking a look through the list, and a battery-powered jet wash caught my eye, so I have one of those en route as well. And to give you an idea, I rung up my local parts motor factors, and a trade price was still more expensive than the price I got these parts from on eBay. Thanks, eBay. So once all my parts turned up, the first thing to do was to change the battery. It was just a 13mm nut holding the battery into the tray, and then just two 10mm for the terminals.
Suppose I better check the oil level first before we go for a start. It's on minimum, but that's fine for a start. As I said, it's been sat 18 months at least, so I am going to do a full service as well. But give it a go, see if it starts. I'm just going to try and start it because I've got no reason not to. See? It's the same thing it did with the jump pack. Brand new battery, just ticks, and now I've got no ignition again. Green. I reckon that connection's... I didn't do this connection up because someone's buggered it, but I think it might be that because I just heard the ignition come back on. Right, I've got ignition again, so I think it is that. Ah, there we go. Whew. I thought I'd absolutely bought a ringer then. No, starts. Sounds good. Loads of errors on the dash, which we're gonna have. So obviously battery's been flat, but seems to run. Engine sounds good. Loads of faults, yeah, 10 miles of range. But no engine management light. We've just got the standard battery flat light. So I think we should get it in the workshop and have a look at a bit of a deeper dive into it. Clutch is good. Gears work. You can just hear the horrible brakes, which sound awful, as you'd expect, but everything seems to be working so far. Parking sensor's even working. No faults there. She's sweet. So let's get her into the workshop. Just go for the fault code, see if there's anything wrong with it computer-wise. Obviously we're gonna need to code in that new battery as well. And we'll get it up on the ramp and see if we can see any other physical issues. Well, actually, I better check to see if we've got a lock and wheel key. Didn't think of that. Lock and wheel key in the glove box and an empty bottle of vodka. Maybe that is the reason it was parked up. Who knows? And the underside is pretty clean as well, and it's the first time for a while that I've seen an under tray that's not actually damaged in any way. But looking, it's got the amount of rust you'd expect for a, what's it, 8-year-old car this year. But there's no oil leaks, there's no boots split or CV boots split or anything like that, all looking good. Can't feel any play in any bushes or any roll bars.
Back of the engine looks clean, not wet, no oil leaks visible. Down the car exhaust looks good. Rear axle again, as rusty as you expect these days. Back of the axle is pretty good though. And very, very slight misting on the shock. They're not too worried about that. Coil springs, all good. And the same this side with no rear misting. All tyres are good, just check them all. No issues there at all. So it's all looking pretty good. So I'm now going to book an MOT for as soon as possible. I'm just going to bring it back down. We're going to read the codes, make sure there's no code stored, and also code in the battery, and then we can crack on with a full service and brake change. I'm also going to do a brake fluid change as well because I had a quick look and it looks pretty black. So I've done an auto scan, and as you can see, we've got loads of faults in the control modules, and that will mainly be down to the battery going flat, especially over the period of time it was. So what we need to look at here is where they say passive sporadic, that just means it's not active. If you see one that says active, then you know it's a current fault. But just going down here, all these are going to just be battery related. And you can all see they're passive and sporadic. Gateway, passive, sporadic, yeah, they're just all like battery faults. ABS, steering angle sensor, yeah, that's fine. All passive and sporadic. What else you got? EPS, passive, sporadic, voltage too low. Yep, right, we're just gonna clear them all and we'll start again. And there we go, absolutely no faults in the system whatsoever, so we can come out of there. Now I feel like this is going far too swimmingly, and I probably shouldn't have said that because now something's gonna happen, but it's all looking good so far. Booked an MOT for tomorrow at 11, so now we need to just crack on with a full service. Brakes, change all those, and we could be onto a winner here, which is obviously great for me, but maybe not so great for you because it's boring content. Nothing's gone wrong as yet. Nearly forgot the battery adaptation, so we want to go into Gateway, which is the main control module, and then we go into, when it hurries up, adaptation, and then battery adaptation, okay, and then yep, it's still 70. EFB plus, yeah, serial number doesn't really matter. Save. Passed. And you might want to go back, but you may have noticed that before I did the battery adaptation, the voltage was only about 12.3, I think, 12.4 volts. And as soon as I've done the battery adaptation, it's shot up to 12.6. So that just proves that it does make a difference coding a new battery, because it basically just tells the car fresh battery and it can just alter everything. Yeah, I don't know how it works, but it does. So we can come out of there now, and then that is done. And then just triple check we've got the right discs. Just check the sides, I'll put them side by side, and then also you can see the depth as well. And yeah, we are looking spot on. So here is my battery powered jet wash, which got me really interested. Now I got this through eBay, as I mentioned earlier, as part of their spring summer range, which is 30% off. And actually this was more than 30% off, but it got me really interested. What I've got to do is connect the battery, connect my water supply, which I'm going to go just turn on. Yeah, it's decent. So I've just jumped in the car and we're now heading down to MOT, and I can tell straight away just by driving it 20 foot that I'm going to have absolutely no issues with this car whatsoever. It's just a combination of things, like there was no faults in the memory, the exterior is in immaculate condition, it's clearly been well looked after. I've got documentation of a full service history of this car. I've even got a spreadsheet in the handbook of every little bit of maintenance that's ever been done on the car. The underneath was perfect. All the under tray screws were in, not damaged. It's weirdly one of the things that makes me think it's gonna be good. And the fact that it passed its MOT, although it was 20 months ago, it was only 160 miles ago, and it passed it with no advisories. And obviously I've looked around the car and I can't find anything wrong with it. And as I said, I'm driving now and it's absolutely perfect, which really confuses me as to how it's ended up in the position it has, being abandoned, which I assume it was a car park, by the way, because it was the council. It could have just been abandoned on the side of the road, I don't actually know, for 20 months. And any scenario I think of, there's an issue, it doesn't make sense. Like if the previous owner had intended to dump it where it was and never touch it again, they would have taken all the stuff out of the car, because there's quite a lot of stuff in here that you would have taken. And if you'd have stolen the car and left it to cool down for a few days, you would have come back and got that car after a few days. So the two scenarios there, neither make sense. And I'm just really confused. I mean, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know why you think it could have been abandoned for 20 months, because they're the only two examples I can think of, and neither make sense, because this is such a good car. It's literally perfect. So, as I said, I'm now going to go stick some fuel in it, head down to MOT, and fingers crossed we get another clean bill of health, and then it's done, and one of you guys can win it for a couple of quid. Now I'm just walking back down to the MOT station to pick up the Golf. For some reason it has failed on a binding offside rear brake, which was absolutely fine when I first started working on the car, when I fitted the brakes and when I drove it down to the MOT station. So I have no idea how it's excessively binding, but we'll go pick it up, we'll bring it back and have a look. Well, they're right. For some reason, I mean, it's not that bad, but it is binding, which is weird because it wasn't when I obviously replaced the pads. But then again, the old pads were fairly new, so I didn't have to push the piston back more than a couple of millimeters. So maybe the piston is just seized because the sliders were fine. I mean, luckily I have an abundance of rear calipers, so we can easily just swap one over, which is what I'm going to do. So I've just taken the pads back out and we have our piston here. Now I'm just going to press the brake pedal to see if this piston does come out. Well, it seems to be coming out all right. Oh, now it's stuck. Now importantly then, if you saw when it was coming out and I released the brake, it slowly went back in a little bit. And that's what happens when you release the brake. So it seems to be working okay. I'm now just going to push the caliper back again to see if it feels seized. No, it's going back absolutely fine. It's not seized at all. So why is it binding? Right, wheel back on, I've bled the brakes, I've run it up, brake pedal's good, I've tested the handbrake, we're all good. And more importantly, we now have a non-binding rear brake, but you do have an RS3 rear brake caliper, which is exactly the same as the other one. But back to the MOT. Right, so I've taken the Golf back down to MOT and it has now passed with no advisory, so it is now good to go with 12 months MOT. So now we can do a breakdown of costs, and 7,100 is what I paid for the Golf, and then I'm just going to check on eBay. So I can't remember what it was including postage. Right, so the discs and pads were £266 delivered. The service kit, full service kit, was £109, and I think that's it. Caliper was free because I had one. Ah, battery. battery was £92. So that is literally all I've spent on the car. So 7, 5, 6, 7. So £7,567 is all it owes me. As I said, I got a trade value of 10,200, but retail you're looking at about 12 grand. So I've absolutely had a right result with this car, and it has been absolutely perfect. So that is another car saved, and in this case saved from destruction. I'm sure it wouldn't have been that bad, but it is saved and it is now back on the road where it should belong. So that is going to be it for today's video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. Don't forget to head over to eBay, stick your registration in and see what car parts you can find at some decent prices, and also their car care products as well. So as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. All links are going to be in the description, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers, guys.